We'll get to the news and start with the coronavirus this morning because health officials across the Sun Belt are reporting a new surge of infections. States like California, Arizona, Texas, and Florida.
In fact, a new statewide order has now been issued in California that will once again require people to wear those masks in most public settings.
And this surge that we're seeing is not limited to the U.S. Worldwide, 77 countries have seen a growth in new cases over the past 2 weeks. And back here, this is all the backdrop of concern over the president's campaign rally. It's set for Tulsa, Oklahoma tomorrow, but that state also seeing a surge. NBC's Morgan Chesky's outside the arena in Tulsa for us. Hi, Morgan. Good morning.
Hey, Savannah, good morning to you. And these numbers really are concerning because it now means that Tulsa has the highest number of cases in the entire state. Now, all that said, when you look around and you see these people that have been camping out for days, you realize their priority isn't necessarily COVID-19, but being inside that arena when President Trump takes the stage for the first time in months, pandemic or not. This morning, last-minute questions about President Trump's return to the rally stage in Tulsa. Overnight, the BOK Center requesting the campaign provide more details, including steps the event will institute for health and safety, including those related to social distancing. This comes as the state Supreme Court is set to rule on whether or not attendees must adhere to CDC guidelines for both face masks and social distancing. The Trump campaign promising temperature checks, hand sanitizer, and masks, though not requiring anyone to wear them. The president predicting a massive turnout, even as coronavirus numbers surge in the state.
We're going to be in Oklahoma, and it's a crowd like I guess nobody's seen before. One of the reasons we chose your state, as you know, Kevin, was that you've done so well with the COVID. You've handled it incredibly well.
The president and Republican Governor Kevin Stitt touting the state's coronavirus record, even as Oklahoma reported its highest single-day increase, 450 new cases, 120 of those in Tulsa alone.
We're ready to get things back to normal, get life back to normal.
Local health officials pushing the president to postpone the rally.
We are in a spike, and it's not a spike like this, it's a spike like this. You don't have to be a rocket science to know that this rally puts us at risk.
Saturday's rally being touted as a, quote, pro-Trump festival, featuring musical performances as well as about 50 high-profile supporters flying in for a show of force. The president reportedly planning to address both the packed arena as well as an overflow crowd and a nearby outdoor stage. Oklahoma activating the National Guard to assist police this weekend, noting they expect upwards of 100,000 people downtown, including a large group of protesters. Back at the arena, supporters say the risk is worth the reward. How concerned are you about the virus?
I am concerned. I really am, but I really wanted to see this man speak. I think an awful lot of him, and I'm behind him 100%, and I'm willing to risk that.
So, Morgan, what plan do local officials have there in case there is spread of the virus extending from this rally?
Right. Savannah, the Oklahoma Health Commissioner is asking anyone who attends this rally to try to get tested both before and after the event due to the increased likelihood of being able to spread the virus. In the meantime, the president remaining defiant ahead of the big day, saying that he would feel comfortable if even his daughter and senior advisor, Ivanka Trump, was right there in the crowd. Savannah?
All right, Morgan Chesky in Tulsa for us. Morgan, thank you. Craig, to you.
All right, we've got some new developments this morning on the battle over that bombshell book by former National Security Advisor John Bolton. Bolton now pushing back against the Trump administration's attempts to stop the book's release. NBC's Peter Alexander is at the White House following this story. Peter, good morning.
Hey, Craig, good morning to you. With a court hearing on the issue set for today, John Bolton is urging a federal judge to throw out the Trump administration's effort to stop the publication of his new tell-all book, calling it an attack on the First Amendment. The Justice Department says the book contains classified information, a point Bolton's lawyer denies, adding, the book is already out.
The war of words between John Bolton and his old boss heating up. President Trump attacking his former national security advisor as a sick puppy and slamming his scathing book as a compilation of lies and made-up stories. Bolton reacting on ABC News.
I think it's unbecoming of the office of president. I think it degrades the political civil discourse in our country, and I'm just not going to respond to it.
Overnight, Secretary of State Mike Pompeo calling Bolton a traitor and saying in a statement, "I was in the room too," a play on the title of Bolton's book, adding, "John Bolton is spreading a number of lies, fully spun half-truths, and outright falsehoods." Among the accusations in his book, Bolton writes President Trump was so focused on a trade deal with China, which he hoped could help his reelection, that he told President Xi he'd support China's controversial detention camps for minority Muslims. The president denies it, and so does another top aide.
Absolutely untrue. Never happened. I was there.
Bolton also says President Trump told him directly that he wanted to withhold security aid to Ukraine until all the Russia investigation materials related to Clinton and Biden had been turned over. That was at the heart of House Democrats' impeachment case, but Bolton refused to testify without a subpoena, and in his book blames Democrats for impeachment malpractice by not expanding their investigation beyond Ukraine.
What he is saying basically is there was malpractice in impeachment because you should have investigated things that I was unwilling to tell you about.
And as the nation today commemorates the end of slavery, Juneteenth, the president is taking credit for popularizing the holiday after facing backlash for initially scheduling his Tulsa rally for tonight. Telling the Wall Street Journal, "I did something good. I made Juneteenth very famous. It's actually an important event. It's an important time." But nobody had heard of it.
And the president says that he told the Wall Street Journal he just learned the meaning of Juneteenth from an African-American Secret Service agent. In fact, the White House has put out a statement on Juneteenth under his name each of the last 3 years. Today, Senator Kamala Harris and other Democrats are going to introduce new legislation to make Juneteenth a federal holiday. Craig.
So, Peter, meanwhile, all of this is happening as the president is also stirring up some new controversy on social media as well. What more can you tell us about that?
Yeah, that's right. Overnight, Twitter posted a warning label on another tweet from President Trump, this time calling it manipulated media, basically that it's designed to mislead. The clip posted by the president shows a viral video, there it is, of those two toddlers, one black, the other white, hugging. You may have seen this one before. But in this new version, it's layered with ominous music and a fake CNN graphic that reads, "Racist baby, probably a Trump voter." The original real story from last year was about a friendship between the two toddlers. And it comes the very same day that Facebook removed a series of Trump campaign ads that featured an upside-down red triangle, a symbol used by the Nazis to identify political prisoners during World War II. Facebook said that those ads violated the company's policy against organized hate. The campaign insists it was using the ads to target Antifa, those anti-fascist protesters the president has blamed for violence and rioting during recent protests. Craig.
Peter Alexander at the White House for us. Peter, thank you. Savannah?
Craig, another major story involving the White House. The Supreme Court has blocked the administration's effort to end the DACA program. That, of course, affects hundreds of thousands of immigrants known as Dreamers. NBC's Gabe Gutierrez has the latest on that. Gabe, good morning.
Savannah, good morning. It's being called a huge victory for immigration advocates and another surprising ruling where a conservative justice joined the court's liberals to sway the vote.
Say it loud, say it clear. Immigrants are welcome here.
This morning, the ruling is reverberating across America after the Supreme Court blocked the Trump administration's attempt to end DACA. About 800,000 young people, known as Dreamers, are now celebrating the decision.
So many tears of just joy, excitement, and also relief.
Relief because since 2017, they'd been in legal limbo. The Justice Department had declared the program illegal. It'd been launched by President Obama in 2012, allowing Dreamers who'd been brought to the U.S. as children by their undocumented parents to stay in the U.S., go to school, and get jobs.
Well, we're disappointed to see the Supreme Court of the United States once again engage in the kind of legislating from the bench that liberal courts have done over many decades.
But it was conservative Chief Justice John Roberts who swayed the vote, joining the court's 4 liberals. He also voted with them in this week's landmark decision protecting gay, lesbian, and transgender employees from workplace discrimination. President Trump has blasted the rulings, tweeting, "Do you get the impression the Supreme Court doesn't like me?" Another DACA recipient, Priosca Galicia, is 22 years old. Her mother brought her from Mexico to the U.S. when she was 6.
You know, most of us came without even knowing we were coming as a kid. And now we're trying to work with you guys, you know, and trying to understand, you know, that we don't want to take away your jobs.
She now lives in New York with her younger sister, who was born here and is a U.S. citizen. For them, the Supreme Court's decision was welcome news.
It's like a step forward for all of us. This is not where it ends. You know, this is basically where everything just begins.
So what's next? Well, it's unclear if the Trump administration will try to shut DACA down again, this time by executive order. That would likely lead to more court battles. Meanwhile, Dreamers are renewing their calls for a pathway to citizenship, but Congress is unlikely to take that up until at least after the election, Craig.
Gabe Gutierrez for us on this Friday. Gabe, thank you. Meanwhile, we are hearing for the first time from one of those Atlanta officers involved in the death of Rayshard Brooks. This after both men charged in connection with the shooting turned themselves in. NBC's Blaine Alexander has been following the story from the beginning. She joins us from Atlanta this morning. Blaine, good morning to you.
Well, Craig, good morning to you. Officer Devin Brosman was in and out of jail in just a matter of hours. And shortly after he bonded out, he was speaking live on MSNBC. Now, he's the officer who's facing the lesser of the charges. The officer being charged with murder, Officer Garrett Rolfe, this morning is still in jail. This morning, booked and behind bars, fired Atlanta police officer Garrett Rolfe charged with felony murder in the death of Rayshard Brooks. Also facing charges of aggravated assault, Officer Devin Brosnan surrendering, then posting bail Thursday before breaking his silence on MSNBC.
I think this is a tragic event, and it's totally a total tragedy that a man had to lose his life that night.
Brosnan, now on administrative duty, appeared with his attorney, who said when the two officers tried to arrest Brooks last Friday in a Wendy's parking lot, Officer Brosnan was thrown to the ground as Brooks resisted, leaving the officer with a concussion.
He is disoriented and he doesn't even know who shot the gun. And he actually hides behind a car when he hears the gunshots and then walks up to the scene.
An attorney for Rolfe promising his client will be vindicated in court. For some fellow officers across Atlanta, all of it leading to protests of their own. Were those charges a breaking point for some officers?
Oh, absolutely. And I would say not some, I would say the majority of the officers in the city of Atlanta.
Police scanner traffic tells the story.
We are not answering 911 calls right now due to personnel issues.
Officers calling out sick or going radio silent, according to union leader Vince Champion, who says many are fed up.
Officers are looking around going, if I go out and do my job, I could be next.
The Atlanta Police Department said they are experiencing a higher than usual number of call-outs, but denied that multiple officers from each zone walked off the job, adding they are able to respond effectively to 911 calls. The district attorney says Brooks did not present himself as a threat when Officer Rolfe fired 2 gunshots going into Brooks' back. A third bullet struck an SUV where Michael Perkins was sitting with friends.
I witnessed the murder. I almost was killed myself. I feel trampled about it, you know, but I'm glad the family getting the justice that they deserve.
And Brooks' family has now announced his funeral arrangements. His services will be held on Tuesday at the historic Ebenezer Baptist Church here in Atlanta. It's the church that was once pastored by Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Savannah.
Blaine Alexander, thank you, Blaine. We have much more to get to this morning, including the devastating economic impact of the pandemic. The Labor Department reporting that another 1.5 million people filed for unemployment benefits last week, and still others, they're waiting in long lines looking for help. NBC's Tom Costello joins us with more on that. Hi, Tom. Good morning.
Hi, Savannah. Good morning. That's 1.5 million more people who need help to pay the rent or the mortgage, the grocery bill, the gasoline bill. You know, there has been hope that we would see a very quick rebound in the economy, a V-shaped recovery. But now we are in the 13th week of at least 1 million people seeking help. From state to state this week, backlog and desperation. From Alabama.
I have kids, I have family, I need this money.
To Oklahoma.
I'm at a complete loss to know what the heck to do. I've got bills, I've got, rent coming.
Kentucky, where hundreds waited for 8-hour stretches after going months without any income or update on their unemployment claims. Emily Miller got in line at 3:30 a.m.
It's ridiculous. I mean, after 90 days, you can't tell me that somebody can't help me.
In the Northwest, Washington State and Oregon have both called in National Guard troops to help process tens of thousands of claims. Nationwide, the Labor Department reports another 1.5 million Americans filed for unemployment last week alone. While that's the lowest weekly number since March, a stunning 20.5 million Americans are still receiving benefits.
The people most affected by this downturn have been minorities, low-income workers, blue-collar workers, those who can't work at home, and women as well.
Jocelyn Taylor was laid off in March from her job as an assistant restaurant manager in Galveston, Texas. 6 months pregnant, she just started receiving an unemployment check, but now fears going back to work.
Being a high-risk pregnancy on top of the pandemic, it makes you nervous about doing anything outside of being at home.
With concern the economy won't turn around on a dime, the Federal Reserve Chairman is urging Congress to extend the additional $600 a week in unemployment aid set to expire at the end of July.
It's important to just keep in mind that some of the jobs are not coming back soon.
The states with the most unemployment claims last week: California, Massachusetts, Oklahoma, and New York. The states with the biggest drop in claims: Florida, Texas, Georgia, and Michigan. Back in Kentucky, utter frustration.
When are you going to help us? We are your people. You need to hear our voices.
So while 20 million Americans have now filed for unemployment benefits or are receiving those benefits, another 9 million are receiving pandemic assistance of some sort. So that's nearly 30 million Americans who are out of work and receiving some sort of help. Savannah?
Yeah, and then they need the help too. Tom Costello, thank you very much. Craig?
All right, Savannah, 7:19 now. Feels like it might be a good time to take that first look at the weather. And for that, no one better. What's up, Mr. Roker?
Well, I'm glad to see on this Father's Day weekend the Delano plaid making its return. Very nice.
That's right. He picked this out last year. You've got a great memory. Once a year, that's all we can all do.
Who can forget that jacket?
How about the weather, sir?
It's a beautiful jacket.
Thank you.
A beautiful jacket. Okay, let's start off, show you what we have happening for today. Most of the action right now is going to be centered in the midsection of the country. We've already got some severe thunderstorms firing up Kansas, Oklahoma. Today, Texas and southwestern Oklahoma will be under the gun, damaging winds, hail up to an inch. Can't rule out a tornado or two. As this system pushes to the east, we look for severe storms likely in the panhandle of Texas as that cold front tracks to the east. Then tomorrow, downpours from Iowa up to Michigan. Isolated areas of flooding will be possible. We may see up to 2 inches of rain per hour, stretching from the UP of Michigan all the way down into Texas. We're looking at that rainfall making its way through the region.